Good morning. Good morning and good morning. How are you? How was your weekend? What did you do that was special? Um, I tell you, I pack a lot into the weekend. I really, really do. And one of the things I did was, celebrating our heritage, of which I was one of the people selected to be on the um, stage with other people that were actresses, singers, great narrators. We did that on Saturday, and it was celebrating our heritage. And I was one of the performers, if you can see that. And that was fun. That was downtown at the museum. It's actually the museum park where everything is open, and I think my one disappointment about that it was a great event they had, and I don't know if I can say the name right, but it was like Gianwan Maida, and they were out of Atlanta, but they came from other different portions of the country. They were wonderful. They were drummers, they were singers, they were dancers, they were teaching things to people in the audience, actually it was an open area, but the people that were watching was just absolutely fantastic. And my disappointment was is that there should have been more people there. So I don't know what happened in terms of the advertisement or whatever, but it was absolutely something to see and be involved in. They had vendors, they had two gentlemen there, and I don't know their names, because I didn't go to the event the night before. It was actually a 2-day event that these people would go around at the different areas in the country, where they were actually. Yeah, Joan was one of the people involved in the event on Saturday of celebrating our heritage. And the gentlemen that were there were just wonderful. They were talking about a book that they had done, but the book pretty much, demonstrated all of the areas and discussed all of the areas that they had actually been to, visited, slept in, researched, of where, slavery was going on, or with things that, basically the dehumanizing of Black people occurred. And it was just astonishing that this book was made. And I think that he said the book had been done several years ago, but it's still in demand, and they're getting ready to make it into a paperback, because originally it was a hardcover. But it was just a great weekend. They had other musicians there, other drummers, singers. Next year, I'm hoping that if they decide to do it again, that they would do it with a bigger audience, because they're missing some things that are just beautiful. Do you remember the title of the book? I don't, but when I finished, I said, I just started talking, and then I forgot. I don't remember the title of the book, but I will look it up. I will definitely look it up, but I didn't see it, but I know that Robin Richard knows it, so I will give her a call and see if I can't locate the book for you and I, because we are both readers, so that would be good. But it was fun. I had a good time with it. And then I also was invited to a girlfriend of mine who turned older, and she had it where we did everything. We had to spin a wheel to see if we were whatever the wheel said, that's what we had to do. And mine, I had to give a line from Sanford and Son. Of course, mine was "You big dummy, Lamont, you big dummy." Okay, that I remember that. And he'd always say, "This is a big one," all those kinds of things. But then at the end, we were required to do a painting, and so this was my young lady that I painted, and all of us had different poses, and they made us go into a bag to select. So we couldn't go around and select which picture we got. We just got whatever we pulled out of the bag. So that was fun. I mean, I had a busy, busy weekend. Went to church yesterday. That was really good. So I had run all week. So last night, I did rest after I finally got back to the house from, hanging out a minute with my daughter. We went out to Navarre to look at some things out there. But today I have a word. This word just came to me that I think is pretty cool. It's called fealty. 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 And it means loyalty. Good morning, Miss Polly. How are you doing today? Our word is fealty, Fealty. And so I found some things out on the internet that pretty much kind of spoke to what fealty is. And I think my question was, have you ever, had an experience where you just gave extreme loyalty to people or some person? You looked up to them in such a way that they almost could be have become your, not just your mentor, but it's like beyond mentor. It's almost like you honor them in such a way that they are in high esteem. And I think I spoke about the kings and queens and all of that. So back through history, that's always been a way of how things would do it. Will you text that word to me, please? Yes, I will. In fact, I will. I can't type and talk, but I will try to do that. I promise you that. I promise you I will text it. But it means, sometimes we use the same word, loyalty, but think about it. You could really use this word and say, oh, I have some fealty, for people, meaning that you have such honor and such loyalty to a particular person. And you can see that now, even with the politics that's going on. I mean, it's everywhere. If you pay attention to it, you don't have to just say loyal. You could say that it is fealty. So anyway, I have a few poems or some things that were written about the word. It says fealty. It says, darkness soon falls benighted. A dry in calls invited. Deepness of the sin ignited. Lost innocence invited. Black eyes shielded, conspired. Fealty soon dies, retired. I rise above, inspired. Love of royals required. Trying to write as Casbarian. So they're really looking at this whole concept of, we lose some of ourselves when we give everything to someone else. We can have this whole idea of fealty towards other people. uh I mean, to me, I would think the word would be more for looking up. For me, it would be my God. I would have fealty to him. But but in the human side of it, for those of us earthlings, we would look at what people have been able to pull that from us, or we give that to them where we feel that compelled, or they are that worthy to give them that kind of recognition. But when looking up what other people said about this poem, it says, I looked the word up, and it says it's an oath of fealty, from the Latin fidelitas, or faithfulness, is a pledge of allegiance. There it is right there. That's easy. Of one person to another. Typically, the oath is made upon religious objects, such as in the Bible. It says the saint's relic, thus binding oath taker before God. And your poem is awesome. Very deep and meaningful stuff here. I need a cup of coffee and another read of this one. So, some people can really get into the word to understand that it has, and that was written by Shast, they done made up this name. It's Shastad Daisy. Shastad Daisy. 1, 2, 3. And then here's another one from Mac and Drew. Mac and Drew. It says, in my other hobby, the SCA, I have sworn fealty to kings and queens, as well as personal fealty to ones I respect dearly. It is indeed a dying thought. Meaning a lot of people don't do that like it was at one point done for, royalty. The royals, like the kings and the queens. I've never known a king or a queen, so I don't know what it would be like that for that. I do have people I think I feel that they have deserved that attention in me, and perhaps I've given them some of that. Especially like my mentors or somebody that really helped me get over something like completing my PhD. That those people were just very important to me, and they made sure I knew that because they even came in through my doctoral party. So sometimes you just realize that there is that aspect of us that may give that to others. And here's the last one, and this one is Sovereign Winged, whoever that is, February 20, 2006. It says it's unique, inspiring, and thought provoking as to what is being said in this poem. Fealty to another is something strong and meaningful. To break that bond is to dishonor both the house of the Lord as well as the person that spoke the bond of fealty. It is not something that is thought of in this day and age except in movies, books, and history. But sometimes we have to go back to movies, books, and history to understand our own being. Because to me, they're writing what happened prior to maybe us knowing about it or experiencing it or needing to experiencing it in some, I'd say, some third, fourth degree by reading. It says honor today is dying in the face of money, greed, and politics. And that's all I'm going to say. But and that was written. This was written 18 years ago. Has it changed now? No, no. I think money, greed, and politics still control us to how we would honor people, how we would put them up above everything else because we feel that they've done something, special, something, that's so big that it has molded our feelings, our attention, and our ability to think anything less of them, regardless of what they do. There it is. Here's my last one. It says, I reward loyalty with loyalty and disloyalty with distance. It's pretty good, huh? Loyalty with loyalty, but disloyalty with distance. Meaning sometimes if we really pay attention to what we become loyal to, if we get into it, we may find out that we don't need it. Good morning, Ardelia. How are you, my sweet friend? Good morning, good morning. Today our word is fealty. Fealty. Fealty, and it means loyalty. It means loyalty. And it's probably used most in back in time when people really felt the need to let everybody, and not everybody, but everybody know that how they felt about the king and the queen. But it was usually associated with religious, you know, almost like idolizing and religion, and sometimes it may be pagan gods or things that had been symbolized, almost like even with the golden calves and all those kinds of things back in the Bible. It really brings you front and center of what the word has back then. They still use it now, but it's starting to give meaning to the fact that you don't always have to say loyalty. You can say fealty. I have this fealty for somebody. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Miss Rosie. Hey, hey, hey. Good to see you in the space. So we're going to talk about that word, fealty. I'm going to ask you all a question. Have you ever found somebody that you loyally put everything into? You were loyal to the finish, even if they're gone on to glory. You were loyal. I have some. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we're loyal to our family. A lot of people that have gotten in trouble, they got in trouble because of their fealty, their loyalty, the fact that they loved or adored or honored somebody so much that if something went down, you think about gangs, you think about you know, uh, people that have gotten in trouble from being a part of a clique or a cult or any of those kinds of things. At some point in time, somebody became so huge in their life, in their space, that the person became it. They were the it, period. But I think for most of us, we need to be reasonable in our allegiance, in our honor, in our loyalty, in our fealty. We need to be reasonable, and sometimes we are not. But thank you. Yes, a few. Me too. Me too. I'm honest. I'm going to say it. So anyway, fealty talks about it as being a non. It's a noun, and it is another way of saying loyalty or faithfulness. How many of us are faithfulness? We're faithfulness in terms of relationships. If you're married, if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, you're in a relationship, that would say that that could be fealty, because you honor this person, you're in, close proximity with them on issues, on doing things, on caring about things, you're equal in that respect. So fealty is the allegiance, the loyalty, the fidelity. It talks about the devotion and the piety, you know. And when you're talking about anything that's piety, is obviously more religious in concept, more religious in concept. But when we break our word down, we're gonna start with the F. Now, my F, I have fidelity, faithfulness to a person, cause. It says the belief, the cause, demonstrated by continual loyalty and support. Do we not see that going on now in our politics? Sure, we do. Both sides, and but it's not just in our country; it's all over the world. People who are in a position to be a subordinate, but also need what they feel the person that they're honoring and basically giving loyalty to can do something for them, as as nice as it's put, to do something for them. And sometimes it doesn't always work, sometimes it does. But anyway, it talks about that they give loyalty and support, meaning that there's obedience, because sometimes people will tell you to go do things, and I think the biggest story in my younger life that I remember coming up was the Jim Jones. you know I just thought that was the most horrific act of someone taking innocent people's, allegiance and loyalty and making it where it led them to their deaths, troublesome, to me, and I remember just being like, oh my goodness, how could that happen? It can happen when people are allowed to be so, intrusive in your life that they become connected. They become almost like you. So they breathe, you breathe. That something's wrong with them, something's wrong with you, so there's that connection. Fixation. Oh, that's a good word. That's a great word, Joan. Fixation. And sometimes we are fixated with other people for whatever our reasons, whatever. So fidelity talks about it also being loyalty, obedience, there it is again, allegiance, constancy, homage. How many of us are paying homage to people? It says staunchness and fastness, meaning connected, connected. Sometimes we are just connected. Good morning, Erica. How you doing, my sweet friend? Good to see you. Good to see you. Today our word is fealty, Feal Tee. I mean Fe. I'm like looking, trying to get my phone. My phone was making sounds. I'm trying to do two things. I'm gonna have to turn that out. That's bugging me. I can't have that on. It always gets noisy whenever I'm gonna do something. So I apologize for that. I usually have it off. Okay. Um, so it's Fealty. Fealty. So when we move on in the word of fealty, my E is exaltation. Exaltation. The action of elevating someone to rank, power, or character. Do we not see that now? We do. Effectiveness, yes. And sometimes we feel other people, because of their effectiveness, that's how we end up moving in that direction towards them. That's how we do it. And to me, in some instances, nothing wrong with it. The extreme is what I worry about. I don't want um, to be, so caught up on certain people that I forget who I am. At some point in time, we have to, ask, okay, so where am I on this issue? Where am I on who I am? Or have I really just become, a robot or somebody that's being told what to do, where to go? So exaltation talks about the elevation of power, rank, or character, the rise, basically the rise of someone moving above everyone else. And I always look at it, politicians, pastors, bishops, all of that. There's always a way that they eventually could have power over your ability to think, your ability to say things, your ability to move. All of those things. All of those things are pretty much what life is about. We stay around long enough, certain people, we may take on some of their characteristics. We may talk a little bit the way they speak, or do things that they do, only because that's almost like who we see all the time. Who we see all the time. So exaltation also talks about being promotion and aggrandizement and ennoblement. All of them meaning, high up. We're looking at somebody else that's not God, but we may have put them in a position of extreme authority over us and our thinking. My A, as I move on in FEALTY, is allegiance. Allegiance talks about loyalty or commitment of a subordinate to a superior, or of an individual to a group or cause. Sometimes we don't even realize that we may join a group, and the group starts out innocent, you know, and as things go on and on and on, becomes more and more like an extreme tight circle, and only these people are involved in it, and there's exclusion of others, and there's you got to do certain things and act a certain way and carry yourself a certain way. uh, those things sometimes, acknowledgement, sometimes we do have to acknowledge what is really going on. That is, the allegiance becomes bigger, and the collective allegiance becomes bigger than the person becoming their own individual. They lose their individuality. you know um, I remember being in some groups where, we had to do certain things based on what the requirements were to be in there. And eventually, when I was able to find my own voice, it may have started with singing, it may have started with, acting, writing, something. And then all of a sudden it makes sense to you. What? Wait a minute now. This is a little much, you know. It's costing my money. It's costing me my time. It's costing me my sleep. It's costing me my own personal individualism. You have to acknowledge. Yeah. And is it effective? Those are really good, John. Thank you. So the allegiance talks about loyalty, faithfulness, obedience. How many groups have you been in that somebody wants you to be obedient? Sometimes they're there. Adherence, devotion, a bond forms, and they talk about it being trueness, and it might be just trueness to the organization itself, or to the person that's making the requirements or the requests of everyone. Trustworthiness, steadfastness, dependability, and commitment. All of those speak to allegiance, which falls up or into fealty. FEALTY. My L of fealty is loyalty. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, why am I in this? Starting to cost too much. And every once in a while, now I have a couple of friends that through the years they had me caught up in some stuff where I remember I was selling a couple of they reminded me of, they were connected hierarchical programs. I was into. And one day I just said, wait a minute now, they're making money, but the money I'm making is more or less going to them, and I'm not making any money. So, and it was money to join it. I think I was doing Avocare for a while and some other stuff. But eventually I said, wait a minute, okay, um, this isn't for me. It's not for me. And sometimes it's hard for us to get back to ourselves. Good morning, Leah. How are you? Good to see you in the space. Good morning. Good morning. Today our word is fealty. F-E-E. Excuse me, I keep saying F-E-A-L-T-Y. Fealty. And it means allegiance, loyalty, devotion. So I'm on my L of fealty now, and it says loyalty is the quality of being loyal. How many of us are loyal? We may be loyal to people. We may be loyal to church. We may be loyal to whatever it is. We're loyal to the family. I had a, I used to, as a counselor, I used to have some families that they didn't want anybody else to be a part of their family. So all of love. Oh yes, that's a big one, Joan. Sometimes when they had, the children were going out to meet other people, and wanted to have love, there was trouble because everybody had to scrutinize the person to see did they fit into the structured family that they already had. And if they thought they didn't, they gave the son or daughter heck. And then they made sure that the suitor or the one that was being suited and trying to get into the family, that they grilled them to the point where many of them left. They said, I can't handle that. If I married you, I'm marrying all of them, you know? And would they be in our house all the time? So sometimes relationships will show you, if there's something already going on and you're moving into it, or you're going to be part of something that you will have difficulty getting out of. Sometimes scrutiny, sometimes loyalty. You have to analyze your own loyalty. So it says loyalty is allegiance, faithfulness, steadfastness, a bond. It's stableness. Sometimes it's not. Dependability, reliability, duty, and just absolute closeness. It's almost like a netting. It's it's woven tight. Sometimes they're woven so tight. When we move on in our word of fealty, trustworthiness is my T. Trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is the ability to be relied on as honest or truthful. Now, sometimes we take honest and truthful because we're loyal. We think it's honest and we think it's truthful. Is it? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it isn't. What's honest and truthful is us and how we feel about somebody. We love them. We care about them. We're going to look up to them and honor them. But is it our trustworthiness can be certainly understood by them and appreciated by them, but how are we getting? Is it reciprocal? Is it reciprocal or is it one-sided? And sometimes if we analyze where we're at, we may find out that things are one-sided. To me, mind control is a weakness in one's rational thinking. Sometimes it is, Joan. It is. It is. Um, you know, I think we can be coerced, coddled, loved in such a way that we forget the fact that we have our own identity. We forget the fact that we have our own way of going forward. And so we go with others. We become dependent. We become needy. All of a sudden, even though the water puddle was there, all of a sudden We can't go through the water. We can't open the door. We lose our independence sometimes just finding somebody that caters to a side that we maybe we haven't had catered to, because sometimes care is mixed up with love. I think you can care about people and like them and don't have to love them, but sometimes they will throw it on you, and next thing you know, you're doing things. You just become a part of their world. Whatever craziness is in that world, you're a part of it, and you're there. You're just there. So, but I do agree that sometimes our weakness, certainly talks about how rational are we. Sometimes we're not rational. Sometimes we are 150%. That means we're time and a half into emotion, and emotion speaks to our love, and our love speaks to our heart speaks to our head. Connected. Not intentionally when we started out, but result. That's a result. you know. So we talk about it, trustworthiness being, the reliability of somebody or us, the dependability, the responsibility, the trueness, the steadiness of who we are. Because sometimes even if what we're honoring or loving or being loyal to isn't steady to us, it's not a steady stream, but they know how to work it in such a way that no matter what, we're there. We're not going to move. Solid. We're secure. We're strong. We're honest, devoted to them or to whatever it is that they might be speaking of. We're just caught up. We're caught up. Now, my why of FEALTY speaks to a yearning. I think most of us as individuals, we want to be loved. We want to be, looked at, in a decent way. We want to be responsible. We want to be caring. We want to be kind. All of those wonderful adjectives. We want it. We want them. And so sometimes in our wanting, we also yearn. And we yearn for what we don't have, or we yearn for what we think we should have. And sometimes we look to other people to get what we do not have. And so, therefore, the yearning is formed. It's there. It's just there. It becomes a part of our destiny, or we think it does. And we think it's a good end. We think it's going to be wonderful. Sometimes it isn't. So we've talked about, the yearning talks about to have an earnest or strong desire for longing for what either we have or we don't have. We want to be loved and nurtured. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and the irony of it is that men and women and children, everybody they all yearn. You show a child no love as they're coming up, they will have trouble showing love to others when they get older, period. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Fact. Those of us who have been, like somehow short fused in what love we receive, when we get it, we might even go overboard where we will become the one who idolizes and longs for and looks after and yearns for what we haven't had or what we haven't had often. We just do that. So it talks about with the yearning, there may be an ache in us. There may be a chase, we're just chasing after people, things, things that give us comfort for when other things or that we're honoring isn't available, or who we honor isn't available. And I'm not speaking God, I'm speaking people. It says that we also covet sometimes. We covet after other people. We hanker, we hunger, we itch. We just have a, itch within our system for whatever it is that we want. We pine. There's a thirst, how many of us have even probably, tasted something that we hadn't had in a long time, like a hug, a kiss, whatever. And all of a sudden, we're like on the path where we need to have that person near us over and over again. And life doesn't always work like that. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't. So we dream. And in our dreams, we might come up with, what's next. I'll just wait. I don't know if you all remember in Living Color. And there was a woman on there, and I can't remember her name, the actress, but she always was pining for Johnny. Yeah. Put a yes in there if y'all remember. Put yes, Johnny, if y'all remember it. But anyway, she would always go to the window and say, Johnny, Johnny, it's only been just a short time since you held me, and da da da. She'd go on and on and on. And they'd show that Johnny had been gone for years. Johnny was never coming back, ain't been back. But that's us. Sometimes you remember Johnny? Okay, I remember Johnny. Johnny's just yes, and I just long for Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. And all she is just hollering his name. Johnny's never coming back. Because it would say sometimes the screen would show Johnny 5 years, 10 years. Johnny been gone forever. She's still calling Johnny. That's us. Our heart remembers the pattern it was given. It remembers it. I don't care who we are. We remember when we were in love, or when we are in love. We remember all those things that make sense to us. So anyway, getting back to the yearning, I thought I'd just take y'all on that a minute. It talks about we dream, we languish, we long for, we lust, and we want. All of those have to do with the yearning. So fealty is a good word because it lets us know that even if you don't say loyalty, even if you don't say allegiance or devotion or fidelity, it still means the same thing, that you have a faithfulness, steadfastness for someone. And sometimes it may be something, and you look at as I said, you look now at the politics going on, you see it's not far from where we are. And we do yield. Yes, we yield. We yield to other people. We yield to, so many things that we consider to be up higher than ourselves, and not necessarily talking about God, because for me, I do yield for God, but saying the human side of life, we also yield for people. We give them a lot of room and space in our head and our hearts and our life. We just do. But listen, I'm done for today. Dr. Winnie is done. I'm going to have some other stuff I have to get done today. We're almost drawn down to the end of the month. And, for those of you who are in the area, they're going to have the citywide revival starts tonight. And that means there's going to be some good singing and some good preaching. So I'm really looking forward to that. I am excited about that. I'm going to try to get a couple of nights in. I don't know if I'm going to go tonight, but I'm going to get a couple of nights in and share in that celebration of, just understanding who I am derived from. And that's a blessing. But I love you guys. I'm going to see you on Wednesday. Hit the share button. In fact, I looked the other day and I had six or seven shares, and I was so excited. I said, well, at least somebody is looking and listening and at least passing the information on, that there's just me. I'm just here. I love you guys. Thank you for adding to my vocabulary. I love you guys. I really believe that this is the way that we can have conversations with anybody, from children to those king and queens, those people that think themselves highly above us. We can talk to them. Be ready. All right. I'll see you Wednesday. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.